Well, hello friends. In today's reading, chapter 28 and 29 of Numbers, we're talking about offerings again. Now, let me just explain to you that much of the latter part of Numbers and all of Deuteronomy is really reviewing for this new generation. So we have some of the same subjects we've already talked about. But in the subjects today and offerings, we have daily offerings, Sabbath offerings, monthly offerings, offerings at the Passover, the Feast of Weeks, Feast of Trumpets, Day of Atonement, and the Feast of Booths, offerings during all of these times of celebrations. Now, there's one phrase that came out in several of these offerings, though, and that is, you shall do no ordinary work. We find that in 28:25, which is talking about the Passover. We see it in 28:26, which is talking about the Feast of Weeks. We see in 29:12, 29:7 in the Day of Atonement, and 29:12 in the Feast of Trumpets. So it says, do no ordinary works. Now, in the Day of Atonement, it said, do no work at all. Now, what is ordinary work? One version says customary work. Don't do the customary work. Well, I know that in the past we've talked about the Sabbath day and how the Sabbath day we're not to do any work, but I thought about the New Testament. What was permitted in the New Testament? First of all, we see in Matthew chapter 12, Jesus addressing the Sabbath day. The Pharisees criticized them because they picked up grain and ate on the Sabbath day, but Jesus defended them so they could eat, they could gather their food and eat. Then secondly, they could minister. Jesus healed a man with a withered hand on the Sabbath day. And then, and that's in verse number 13 of chapter 12. Chapter 12, verse 11, they could get the ox out of the ditch. You know, and our ox is in the ditch. The ox was the mode of work, of how they gathered their fruit in and so on, and their crops. Well, I think about men who are farmers and how a storm's coming. On certain days they're able to get their crops, and they have to work to get their crops in before the storm gets there. That's getting your ox out of the ditch. And then they traveled. There was a Sabbath day's journey in Acts chapter 1 verse 12. It's so important, my friends, that we keep the Sabbath day holy, and also these days of celebration. We need to have holy days and do no customary work. Anyway, God bless you. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.